Today we're going to talk about glazing our pinch pot vase. So you're going to need a piece of paper to take notes, and I'm going to talk about all these different things, brushes and glaze, and so let's get started. Okay, so the first thing I would like to start with is what we're going to glaze our pinch pot vase on. We're going to use traditional glaze. Okay, and here is the traditional glaze that I have. That's just what I call it. In my classroom, it is glaze from Clay Art Center of Tacoma, and it's code 0406, and you really need to shake it, but we'll talk about that. Here's one coat of brown, 2 coats of brown, 3 coats of brown. You can kind of see, even with 3 coats, there's a little bit of transparency. It's really great on texture. So we're going to use traditional glaze. Go ahead and write that down. And traditional glaze is different than underglaze. First of all, you still need 3 coats. Okay, really important if you want it to be solid color. Okay, if you like that watercolor look, or you don't really need it to be food safe or watertight, that's fine. But 3 coats if you want it a solid color. It does not mix like paint. And if you remember our underglaze, it does mix like paint, but this doesn't. So it comes in these bottles here, and you can just open the bottle and dip your brush right into it. I have gone through and taken petroleum jelly all around the inside here. So all around, right around here where the rim meets the lid. So when you're glazing, you don't want to accidentally brush up against that edge there, because if you get that petroleum jelly on your pot, then it won't get any glaze there. It will resist the glaze. So just go right directly in, yeah, like that. So it does not mix like paint, but you can do some pretty cool things with it. So we're going to talk about that. It has the clear already in it. Okay, so no need to do a top clear coat. It is the consistency of like a melted milkshake. Oh, I'm getting hungry. And so it's kind of thicker, but it's also very chalky. So this is not something where you'd want to take your vase and you want to take your brush and you want to really slowly paint like this. Okay? You want to take your brush and get lots of it on the brush, and you want to go not uber quick, but you want to quickly go in and saturate the area. Okay? So you want to use larger brushes because of this chalkiness and this melted milkshake. Use larger brushes and go a little bit faster. This isn't for detail. This is like for overall coverage. So in class we have brushes like this, some of the bamboo. These are bamboo. And just soft brushes. Fan brushes are great. Any soft brush. Make sure it's clean and ready to go. And using a bigger brush will be great for this. In addition, to choose the colors, you don't want to just look at the bottle. So the bottle here, this one is supposed to be black, but it looks gray in the bottle. Here's the actual black color that it comes out with. So I have all of these glaze tests here. Right, you can see how it works on texture. This is actually fired vertically, so it still gets really nicely in those grooves. All right, and I just want to show you this on an actual work of art. Here's a student's vase, and look how it really settles into all the valleys. Even on a piece that's vertical, like I fired this vertically, like standing up, it does a really good job, and where they overlap, it's really beautiful as well. So let's write down, to pick the colors, you need to use the glaze test. For the colors, those are these little kind of cylindrical things here. And you really need to either shake or stir with a whisk. And back at the glazing table, I have a whole bunch of these small whisks that are great for fitting into these small containers. If you don't shake and whisk a lot, what happens is the glaze settles down on the bottom. And this one's been I've been shaking it all day long, and I still have some areas where it's still sticking to the bottom there. That little tiny bit's not a big deal, but sometimes it's all dark. And so you really want to shake it like 30 times or give it a really good whisk and kind of scrape the bottom. Okay, and then clean it off and put it back where you found it. Now, you can glaze your vase, especially if it has a really beautiful shape or you really think you did an excellent job with carving. You can glaze your vase with 3 coats of one color, and that would be really great. In fact, I was thinking that this vase would look really good with this color. It's Victorian green. Well, it would actually probably look really good with this color too. But if you don't think you really did that good of a job with the carving, you're not really happy with it, and you want to elevate it a little bit, you can do something called layering with these glazes. So let's talk about layering. So again, these glazes don't mix like paint, but if you paint on one coat, let it dry, and then paint on a second coat, let it dry, and paint on a third coat and let it dry, that's considered 3 layers, almost like layers of an onion. So the first thing we want to think about in layering glaze is what 2 colors we want to layer. Usually 2 is a good number to start with. So we are going to pick our 2 colors. And when we pick our 2 colors, we want to consider a few things. The first is that opposites on the color wheel make brown. So if I have a red and I have a green and I layer them, I'm not going to get red or green where they layer, I'm going to get a brown. And if I want a brown, that's fine, but I already have a brown that I can use. You know, brown's not a bad color, but if you're having all these bright colors, you probably don't want to get a muddy brown. So instead, it's better to use colors next to each other on the color wheel. And what I mean by that is like red and or yellow and orange. Even a red and a yellow would be great to layer. Or you could go the other way and do a yellow and a green, or a yellow and a blue would be great, right? This is yellow and blue. So long as when they overlap they don't make brown, you're good to go. Also, what we have in the class is neutral colors, plus a color. You could add a color, right? Your two colors, one could be neutral, one could be a color. So we have things like browns, grays. I have one called sandstone. We also have black, and we have white. Black you wouldn't want to put down with like yellow or with orange on top, right? Yellow is so thin and transparent. You put yellow on top of black, you're not going to really see it. Same with the orange. Probably you wouldn't even see this light green. Okay, but black is a great accent color. You know, you might want to put black on top of maybe a pink, you know. So the formula that we use, kind of the formula or the way that we use, I'm going to put in a big box here. I want to really highlight what that is in your notes so you know about it. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to do 2 coats of your first color, like kind of on the bottom. So that would mean I would dip my brush into my paint and I'd glaze it, or my glaze, and I'd glaze it, let it dry for a few minutes until it's not shiny anymore, and then go back in with my glaze and do another one, wait till it's not shiny anymore, and then the second thing I would do is I'd do 1 coat of your second glaze. Okay, and again, just all over. And it's gonna pool and puddle and be really, really awesome together. I have a few examples of this. One that I really like to show, which is this one here. Here I have 2 colors that I used, and one of them was dark teal, 2 coats of dark teal down on the bottom, and then sandstone on top. And what that did is it gave me, in the valleys, the sandstone kind of pooled on top of the dark teal. It looks really great. It's kind of hard to see on camera. In person, it looks awesome. Okay? The same 2 colors, but if I reverse the order, so 2 layers of sandstone and then 1 layer of dark teal, and I get this, which is where the dark teal went down into the grooves. Okay, I didn't use the same stamp. I should have. That would have been much more interesting. This one really looks like something under the sea, and it's not perfect, right? There's little like patches where it didn't quite get the teal on top, and that's okay. Okay, so that's why I'm saying it's not something that you go in and you glaze perfectly. It's something that you do all over to an all over texture, and it really elevates and makes it a little bit more interesting. A couple more notes. First of all, you want to make sure that you glaze down in here. Now, this is not dipping or pouring glaze, so I didn't order it in that consistency. So I did have a student once say, oh, well, I'm going to glaze inside, like you should, but they poured the whole thing in, they mixed it around, and they poured it out. Well, what happened is so much got absorbed into the bottom because it was sitting there for a little bit, maybe 5-10 seconds, that when the glaze expanded in the kiln when it got hot, and then when it cooled it contracted, it actually cracked the entire part of the bottom of the vase off, like the entire part came off. And I couldn't figure out what happened until they told me how they glazed it. So don't pour your glaze down in here. What you want to do is you're going to get your brush, and you don't have to get as big of a brush, especially if the hole is smaller. And you're just going to get lots of glaze on your brush and go down and glaze in here. You can glaze as much up the sides as possible, okay? And let it dry and do a second coat, right? Just really get it in there. And when you do it up here where people can see up in the rim area, you're just going to do a really nice job. Probably not layer, although you could. Probably just, 3 solid coats of one of the colors. Okay. Also, at the very end, you want to wipe off the bottom with your sponge so that no glaze is on the bottom. So we want to clean off bottom after glazing, right? All right, so those are the notes for glazing your pinch pot vase. I hope you enjoyed it, and good luck glazing. I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.